He has been called an actor's actor and a treasure of New York. But for Philip Bosco, the foundation for a brilliant stage career was laid here in Washington, D.C. In 1948, the Jersey City native headed south to enroll in Catholic University's nationally known drama program. There, Bosco met the legendary Father Gilbert Hartke, head of the university's drama department. The young man was so captivated by Father Hartke and his fellow students that at the end of his freshman year he was asked to leave school for academic insufficiencies. But the lure of Hartke's program brought him back to Catholic after several years in the Army. In 1954, Bosco made an immediate impression in a production of Richard III that had Washington theater critics raving about the college sophomore's work, not realizing that this college sophomore was 24 years old. His performance in The Rivals inspired one critic to predict, "Student Bosco is developing into actor Bosco, and while I'm increasingly reluctant to urge anyone toward a stage career, Bosco's certainly a good solid bet." His Hamlet, presented during the 1956 season, had critics scrambling for more superlatives and left audiences dazzled by his masterful portrayal of one of Shakespeare's most intriguing characters. Bosco worked summers as well, making his professional debut at the Olney Theater in a 1955 production of George Bernard Shaw's You Never Can Tell. Also in the cast was another Catholic University student, Nancy Dunkel. Back at Catholic, Bosco turned in stunning performances as Mephistopheles in Dr. Faustus, Malvolio in Twelfth Night, and the title role in Agamemnon. On January 2, 1957, Philip Bosco took on another role as husband to Nancy Dunkel, when the two were married by none other than Father Hartke. The honeymoon, at a newly opened motel near National Airport, was cut short when the actor had to report to rehearsal for Cyrano de Bergerac. The Merchant of Venice followed, with Bosco turning in a riveting interpretation of Shylock. After graduating from Catholic in 1957, Bosco returned to Olney for 3 more summers, working his way up from small supporting roles to the lead as Henry VIII in a 1959 production of Royal Gambit. He missed the 1958 season at Olney when he was lured away to play Brian O'Banion in a touring production of Auntie Mame, starring Sylvia Sidney. But Bosco was soon back in Washington, in the company of Arena Stage. At Arena, he expanded his repertoire, performing in plays as diverse as A Month in the Country and The Disenchanted, Bud Schulberg's take on the turbulent marriage of F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald. In the summer of 1960, Bosco played Angelo in the New York Shakespeare Festival production of Measure for Measure. Reviews for the newcomer were ecstatic, and that fall, Bosco flexed his acting muscles, playing Hercules in a comedy called The Rape of the Belt. The play closed after 9 performances, but critics hailed Bosco's athletic and witty turn, and he was rewarded with his first Tony nomination. He next took on supporting roles in Richard II, Henry V, Part 1, Much Ado About Nothing, Hamlet, and Coriolanus over 4 seasons with the American Shakespeare Festival, which he chose over a lucrative 7-year Hollywood contract. From Shakespeare, Bosco moved effortlessly to Tennessee Williams' Camino Real and A Streetcar Named Desire, Saroyan's The Time of Your Life, Girardot's Tiger at the Gates, Schiller's Mary Stuart, Miller's The Crucible, Brecht and Weil's The Threepenny Opera, Osborne's Inadmissible Evidence, Euripides' The Bacchae, Wilder's Ah Wilderness, and back again to Shakespeare in a memorable production of King Lear with Lee J. Cobb. But if Bosco is identified with one playwright, it is George Bernard Shaw. What attracted Bosco to Shaw can be summed up in one word: language. "It's so heavenly," he has said, "for an actor to wrap his tongue around those delicious words." "If you want to do Shaw in America," wrote critic Mel Gusso of the New York Times, "the first step is to contact Mr. Bosco and ask him which part he wants to play. Critic Frank Rich agreed. While there are no sure things in the New York theater, the partnership of George Bernard Shaw and Philip Bosco comes close. Interspersed with his work on stage have been memorable film performances in Children of a Lesser God, FX2, Nobody's Fool, Angie, My Best Friend's Wedding, and Working Girl. When I read a film script, Bosco quips, I always like to see that I've got plenty of scenes with the stars. That way I know my part can't get cut out. In 1986, Bosco returned to the Olney stage, playing Thomas More in a triumphant production of A Man for All Seasons, dedicated to the memory of his mentor, the late Father Hartke. The production went on to a successful and acclaimed run in New York. Lend Me a Tenor, Ken Ludwig's hilarious 1990 farce, garnered Bosco his first Tony for playing Saunders, the frazzled impresario. It was, fittingly, also his 100th play on the New York stage. The Times rhapsodized over Bosco's priceless display of technique, calling him one of the best comic actors we have. For Ludwig's 1996 comedy, Moon Over Buffalo, Bosco received his 5th and most recent Tony nomination. Other honors have come his way: induction into the Theater Hall of Fame, a New York Drama Critics Award, an Emmy, and an Obie Award for sustained excellence in recognition of Bosco's commitment to numerous off-Broadway productions, including Some Men Need Help and Breaking Legs. Philip Bosco is an actor without pretense, but with a well-defined set of priorities. Our family is the most important thing to both of us, he says, referring to Nancy, their 7 children, and 14 grandchildren. And as his stunning performance last year in Michael Frayn's drama Copenhagen proves, Philip Bosco is showing no signs of slowing down at the age of 70. He is in demand to do movies, read audiobooks, do commercial voiceovers, and of course to appear again on the stage. Asked recently about retirement, he scoffed at the idea. What would I do? Sit around and watch myself get old? Bosco sees his nonstop career in a typically modest way. The lucky thing about being an actor in my category, not your handsome leading man, is if you can manage to hang around long enough, obviously the competition narrows. So I don't worry about getting old. I work all the time, and I'm grateful as hell for it.